The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit.
Fly ball, gap, right center field. And
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buxton, grandma. It is grand salami time.
Will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and welcome to episode 172 of the Light the W podcast. As always, I am Mahal Anderson, and happy Wednesday. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Tuesday night's game. I'm recording this Tuesday, June 23rd, 10:33 p.m. currently. This will be out, of course, Wednesday morning. But we're going to talk about tonight's game very briefly. Is Andres Munoz back? Cole Young, how about it? We'll then talk about Byron Buxton. Will he get traded? Does he fit? Does he make sense? What would the Mariners have to give up, potentially? And then we'll get into our three favorite segments. We're talking about prospects, we're talking about the league as a whole, and we're going to talk about the World Cup very briefly on our Seattle Sports Wraparound. So, without further ado, welcome into this episode 172 of the show, and let's get started. Let's begin with tonight. And let's begin with Andres Munoz, because tonight's game was Mariners baseball. This is the method. This is the method to Mariners madness. You win one-run games. You get a good start from your starting pitcher. You get a quality 6 innings from George Kirby. 6 innings, a 2-run ball. It's exactly what you ask. And you hit a couple home runs, one from the big dumper, and then Cole Young with the big one. A 2-run bomb to give the Mariners the lead. You turn to the bullpen. Jose Ferrer, Eduard Bazardo, and Andres Munoz all doing their job fantastically. And the Mariners get the win. Andres Munoz was special tonight. He's had 4 scoreless outings, 4 scoreless innings in a row, and he's looked a lot better as of late. Biggest thing is that he has just shown conviction, dominance, confidence in the fastball, and that has allowed him to be the Andres Munoz we know and expect. The velo's up. He sat nearly 101 tonight on that 4-seam fastball and touched 102 on it. But it was also the location. Top rail. Hitting the corners, making hitters chase up above the zone. You got 6 whiffs tonight on 8 swings versus the 4-seamer, 8 called strikes plus whiffs on just 11 fastballs total thrown. Andres Munoz was absolutely brilliant. He was disgusting. He was exactly what you expect him to be. That is the level of dominance we have come to know to expect out of Andres Munoz, and you got it tonight. If he can continue that consistently from now, here at the end of June, through the rest of the season, and hopefully into the postseason, this Mariners team looks entirely different. It reshapes this entire team. The Mariners currently are 2.5 games up in first place in the American League West, plus 18-run differential projected / expected win/losses of 42 and 38. Yet they're 41 and 39, and you know where one of those games came from, and it was Andres Munoz blowing it. They could easily be 2-3 games better if Andres Munoz had been more consistent in what you expect him to be. Nonetheless, the Mariners are 2 games up in the division right now, currently, 2.5 games up in the division, 2 games above 500. Andres Munoz is looking more like the Andres Munoz we come to know to expect. Logan Gilbert's looking more like the Logan Gilbert we know to expect. George Kirby can find some consistency. That makes a huge difference. If Brian Wu can find some consistency on the road, that makes a huge difference. Cal Raleigh finally hit a home run tonight. That makes a difference, right? Can Cal Raleigh hit a spurt here of hitting bombs, hitting homers, getting some dumps out of the yard? As soon as you start getting a flow of those coming, this team looks and is shaped completely different. You think about the Mariners against left-handed pitching, that's been a huge woe, a huge issue for this team. Their roster currently is not all that different than it was just 12 months ago, right? The difference against left-handed pitching is Jorge Polanco's gone, and Cal Raleigh just hasn't been good in general, but especially against left-handed pitching. If he can find his groove from both sides of the plate, but especially from that right-hand side of the plate facing left-handed pitching, it is going to make a difference for this team, and it is going to reshape what this lineup and team it just feels like in general. Now, another thing that could do that, of course, is a trade. And the hot name as of late has been Byron Buxton for good reason. However, the question that's going to loom over Byron Buxton is, will he even get traded? For those that don't know, Byron Buxton, he is currently a Minnesota Twin, and he is 32 years old. He plays center field. He could obviously play in a corner for this Mariners team. He could DH some. He's a fantastic defender, fantastic bat. He is a star-level player that has dealt with injury issues throughout his career. He has 2.5 years left on his contract. He has a full no-trade clause through the rest of 2026, and then has a 5-team trade list starting after this season once the calendar flips to 2027. Now, we have no idea what those 5 teams are, of course. Will the Mariners be on it? We don't know. But that doesn't even matter for this trade deadline. For Byron Buxton to get traded, it would take him waiving his no-trade clause and choosing to go to a place. He has been in Minnesota his entire career. He was drafted by the Minnesota Twins. He is from Georgia, right? Would he want to come to Seattle? Very far away from home, very far away from Minnesota, where he has spent his entire career. That is an unknown. But you have to be in these conversations. And if you go and make an offer to the Twins that they would accept, force them to go ask Byron Buxton if he would waive his no-trade clause for you. Force that to happen. Now, don't put all your eggs in this basket, right? But have those conversations. Now, part of this problem right now is that the American League is hot shit. Pardon my French right there. Minnesota Twins are only 2 games back of a wild card spot right now. And they are in a division that really feels like it is wide open. Now, that Twins team, not that great of a baseball team. They are 5 games below 500, even in terms of record, with the Twins, Astros, and Orioles. And look, this was a year where they expected to tank, right? They want to get a high draft pick. They want to be able to continue to build this team's future. That's what they're expecting to do, right? They took a huge step back last year at the deadline, didn't trade Buxton, didn't really have huge conversations. And they said they're not going to have conversations this year. I just don't believe that for a second. For the stage of building a team that the Minnesota Twins are in, you are not going to be competitive in the rest of 2026, even though you are 2 games out of a wild card right now. You are very likely not going to be competitive in 2027. Maybe you are competitive in 2028. However, at that point, Byron Buxton is 34 years old. He's a guy that has dealt with injury issues, and he's, well, a good leader. Not going to be the same guy that he is currently. If you are building for 2028 and 2029 for the Minnesota Twins, go get future pieces in a trade for your best player right now in Byron Buxton, and use those pieces to build around. From the Mariners, can you go get a guy like Laz Montes, Johnny Farmello, Felnin Celestin, and start to build around one of those guys? That's an exciting guy to build around with huge ceiling. Any one of those guys, right? And then if you're the Mariners, would you give up one of those guys, maybe 2 of those guys, for Byron Buxton for 2.5 years, even though he's injury prone? And the answer has to be yes. You look at this deadline, you look at this Mariners roster, there are not that many players, especially bats, that are going to fit this roster, makeup and everything, and truly change this team a lot. But when you talk about the fit, Byron Buxton is perfect. I made a checklist here in my notes of things that are just perfect about Byron Buxton. I'm going to go through them. He's a right-handed hitter that will crush left-handed pitching. He plays great defense. He is a star. He can play center field. He is athletic. He is a legit upgrade on what you have right now. He is a great guy in the clubhouse. He's a leader, and he is affordable. 2.5 years at $15.1 million is incredible in terms of a contract for this level of player. The worry is health, right? He's only played 100 plus games 3 times. He's done it the past 2 seasons, which is a good sign. However, he's only played 130 or more games once, and that was in 2017, nearly a decade now. However, even with these limited games, he stacks up numbers. Looking at Baseball Reference, their version of WAR B-WAR, he put up 4.9 B-WAR last year, 3.6 in 2024. He's already put up 3 this year. In 2022, it was nearly 4. In 2021, it was nearly 5. The only bad year in terms of B-WAR since 2020 is 2023. Every other year, he's been at least a 3-win player, and that is a huge upgrade, having an everyday guy in the outfield that can be there for a couple years and that you can trust to be a legit bat in this lineup. This is a bat that belongs at the top of the Mariners lineup. This is a potential leadoff guy for the Mariners. This is a potential second spot in the order type of guy for the Mariners. And you get to move Cal Raleigh down more towards where he belongs. It allows you to move Randy Arozarena, Josh Naylor down in the line. It just allows for more flexibility. Right? He can play center field for Julio sometimes. He'll play in a corner for the most part if you were to go acquire him. You can have him and Dom Canzone playing for the most part. And, maybe Luke Raley gets traded in another deal, and that's where you don't need him. But Brendan Donovan can spell in a corner. It just allows for flexibility in this roster. And that's something that this team and this roster is really, really missing. They have a lot of guys that are just not flexible enough in what they can do. They have a lot of guys that really should just be designated hitters. Byron Buxton isn't that. He can play great defense, and moving into a corner might help his legs, might help him stay healthier. Right? DHing him sometimes, hopefully, keeps him healthier as he continues to age. And he's just had random injuries over the course of his career. But to be honest, I don't care. Go bring this guy in. Go put yourself in the trade talks. Go force the Twins to talk to Buxton about making this deal, because he is that freaking good. This deadline, I'm going to say something numerous times. There will not be a perfect fit. No player is going to be perfect. If they are perfect, why are they being traded? Nobody on the market will be perfect. And there will not be that many guys on the market that will be legit upgrades for this Mariners team. There will be maybe a couple, especially in terms of the lineup. If you want a legit upgrade to this lineup, this is the easiest, maybe not easiest, but best route for you to chase, attack, and make it happen. You're telling me he wouldn't want to come here and play with this squad, with J.P. Crawford, with Julio, with Cal, with Randy, with Naylor, with Emerson, Young, Donovan? Like, this team is really exciting, really fun. I think you could get him to waive that no trade clause. You just gotta force the Twins to push it. Force them to ask him. If they ask him, he'll waive it. I really, truly believe that. I don't know the guy. I have no information, but I really, truly believe that if you have the Twins go ask him to waive that no trade clause for you, this is a place he would be willing to go to. This is a team that can compete for the American League pennant and a World Series. And that acquisition would push them to it. I'm all in on Byron Buxton. I want this to happen. I'm ready to have this conversation more and more and more. But you just look at what he's done this year. It's impact. A 151 WRC plus 51% above league average as a hitter. Already has 25 home runs, if that's what you want to talk about. He had 24 stolen bases last year and 35 home runs in 126 games. He's played in 68 games this year, just a 25% strikeout rate, 7.5% walk rate. He's hitting 275, 333, 596. He mashes home runs, has 13 doubles already this year as well. The fit is perfect. If you want to go talk about defensive numbers for him, this is something we've talked about with this team a lot. Again, he's played center field exclusively in his career. He's been below average in defensive runs saved, but 4 outs above average this year, 2 fielding run value on Fangraphs, and that DRS is -1 right now. And those fluctuate big time, really. And you move him to a corner, I believe it can make that better. Him and Julio Rodriguez in an outfield together would be an absolute blast. And this gets rid of Rob Refsnyder, very likely. Another thing that just makes it better. He's hit second for the most part in the order for the Twins this year. There's just so much right with what Byron Buxton would bring this team at 32 years old from the Minnesota Twins if you can go and force them into making this deal. Mariners got 2 more games in Pittsburgh before they continue the road trip heading to Cleveland, who is without Jose Ramirez. So it's another good opportunity for you to pick up some wins. Let's go win this series against Pittsburgh tomorrow. Maybe go for the sweep on Thursday. And then let's get into Cleveland on the backs of a series win and get another one. Stack series wins. That's how we're going to do it. And that's how you should do it, right? We've been talking about this for how many years now? But I am ready for it.
This is Around the Horn. 4 updates on Major League Baseball over the past week.
All right. Around the Horn. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the standings a little bit, shall we? So, New York Yankees, best team in the American League currently. We'll start with the American League. They're 47-31. Yeah, they're a pretty good baseball team, unfortunately. A really good rotation. They're the biggest competition right now for this Mariners team in attacking the American League pennant. Mariners just got to show that they're a good enough team. The leaders in the Central, of course, are the White Sox, shockingly, but they are slipping. 4-6 in their last 10 games, however, on a 2-game win streak. The Mariners are just a game back of them. It's just 2 games in the loss column. Mariners have 2 more losses than the White Sox. Mariners' run differential is better. Expected wins, losses is better. All of that jazz. And the AL Central is just a lot of garbage, right? I mean, the Guardians are in a wild card spot right now. They're 41-39, same record as the Mariners, dealing with a lot of injuries. And again, they're 4-6 in their last 10. The Rays are 3-7 in their last 10. They're starting to scuffle like I expected. Blue Jays are in the 3rd wild card spot right now. They're 39-40, still below 500 because I told you so. They're starting to pick up play a little bit, 6-4, but their -25 run differential is not great. Just outside, Athletics and Rangers, both a game back of a wild card spot, currently 38-41. The American League has got a team below 500 in a wild card spot right now. It just really shows where things are at. No team really could feel like they're out of it, and you can see that because the Angels, who are 7 games out of a wild card spot, the worst record in the American League, are not going to sell their guys because it's Artie Moreno and the Los Angeles Angels. I'm sorry for all you Angels fans out there. It's a tough life, I'm sure. Got to go to the Big A and deal with not trading players each and every single year. Looking at the National League, do I even got to talk about the Dodgers? They're 51-29. Just F off at this point. Brewers are on a 3-game win streak, the highest in baseball currently. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games, 48-29. The Braves are 48-30. Those are the 3 division leaders currently. The shocker right now is that the Cardinals are in a wild card spot. They're 42-35, which is a fantastic record for them after trading off some pieces. They've gotten big seasons so far from guys like Jordan Walker, Nathan Church, Alec Burleson. These type of guys are just coming up. They're having some young talent come through. And for a team that I was excited to talk about at the deadline, it's not looking like it's going to happen because they are staying competitive. Nonetheless, this is not a team that is going to think they can win the division, let alone a World Series. So I would not be surprised to see them start to scuffle a little bit and see if they trade off some more of these pieces that are controlled through this year and even potentially next year so that they can get some pieces for the future back. Cubs are the final wildcard team with the Phillies right in between the Cardinals and the Cubs. Cubs are 41-37, 4 games above 500. They're playing better baseball lately at 7-3 in their last 10 games on a 1-game win streak. Not even a streak, to be honest. Padres are tied with the Cubs on record at 41-37, 2-game win streak for them, 6-4 in their last 10 games. And at the cellar, it's the Giants and the Rockies, NL West, at the top and the bottom of the National League. Is there really anything else we can say about that division other than I feel sorry for you Giants fans? You thought you were going to be competitive, and you're just not. 9 game back of a wild card spot right now, 32-46. Yikes. And you got some bad contracts on that team. Matt Chapman, Rafi Devers, Willie Adames even. Not good contracts on that team, and, it's unfortunate. But at least you're not the Rockies. We're 31-49 right now, and after a good start to their season, they are back where they always are, just in the absolute cellar. Now, let's head down to the farm.
Welcome to Down on the Farm, your weekly segment talking about the Mariners farm system over the past week.
My sweet chicken friend. Good to hear from you once again. The question today. When are these prospects going to get promoted? Let's talk about Felnin Celestin, Luke future MVP Stevenson, Johnny Farmello, Kade Anderson, Ryan Sloan, Las Montes, and of course Michael Arroyo. And is there potential all these guys are on a roster at the same time? I think there really is a high potential of that happening, yeah. You look at the middle of July, even end of July, right before the deadline, I would not be surprised to see all these guys on a roster at the same time, which would be absolutely ridiculous. Felnin, Luke Stevenson, Farmello, Laz, and Arroyo at the top of a lineup would be absolutely insane, and it would be must-watch baseball, I must say, especially if Kade Anderson or Ryan Sloan is on the mound. Let's talk about Kade Anderson first. Mariners, of course, dealing with this whole piggyback thing. It's really tough to see where Kade Anderson's eventually going to fit into this. Now, the bullpen makes a ton of sense, but I talked about the deadline earlier, and the bullpen is really a route where the Mariners are going to probably look to upgrade themselves as a roster at the deadline. And the more you upgrade that, the less there's going to be space for Kade Anderson until September when you get the extra roster spot. Now, maybe that's a good thing, and maybe it just doesn't force you to promote him and you just let him tear up AA a little bit. But there's people talking about how he needs to get promoted to AAA. Thank you, Andrew Mente. And it just doesn't make sense, right? Why would he go to AAA? There's not advanced hitters there. It doesn't make any sense for him to go there. You're not seeing top-level talent. You're seeing probably better talent in AA. He's carving up AA. He seems ready for the majors. The Mariners just literally don't have anywhere to put him right now on this roster. There is not space for him. And that's unfortunate, right? You can't move him to a bullpen yet, and you have literally 6 starters that you know and love and trust if you're the Mariners front office, because they include Luis Castillo in that. For us, it's only 5. But even so, you can't just add a 6th guy into that again, right? So it's tough to see how Kade Anderson's going to fit under the 2026 Mariners until that extra roster spot comes into play come September. But if the Mariners don't add to the bullpen, yeah, you could see this move start to happen at the beginning of August, start to see him transition to a bullpen role, be able to limit his innings. But the Mariners are going to want to keep him stretched out for as long as possible because that's the best thing for his development. And for a guy that's the number 3 overall pick in last year's draft, is one of the best, if not the best, pitching prospect currently in baseball, you don't want to hurt his development in any way. You need to have him ready for 2027 when there hopefully is a season, you knock on wood. In terms of Felning, Celestin, Farmello, Luke Stevenson, all these guys, like, I expect these to come soon. If it doesn't happen in the next couple weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if they just wait till the deadline, let these guys rake, and then if you have them hitting the baseball well when you're trying to potentially use them in trade talks, that is the reason I think that they might not get promoted until the beginning of August. However, I think Felning Celestin especially has shown he's ready. Johnny Farmello, Luke Stevenson have both gone through spurts where they haven't been quite as good. Luke Stevenson, the more recent of which, Farmello has been really hot as of late, other than the game I went to, of course. And you could see him get promoted soon as well. But I think these Mariners, like, front office is going to want to move those three guys as a group up to AA. That's how they tend to like to do things, is have a core group where they're playing with each other consistently, because you expect them to be in the majors together, and you build those bonds, you build that teamwork, that cohesion, all of that stuff that happens in the clubhouse and on the field, right? You build that now so that when they inevitably, hopefully come to the Major League Ball Club, they already know how each other play, what each other need to thrive, and that's how it should be. In terms of Laz and Arroyo, I think it's probably around the deadline that they get moved up. Arroyo, especially if he just hits right and he just shifts into another gear and starts to hit, he'll get promoted. Laz, he's been really good. And it does make sense for him to go to AAA compared to like a Kade Anderson, because you think about what Laz Montez struggles with, it's strikeouts. So having him see guys that are going to be throwing more breaking balls is going to be a better thing from him. Getting him to see some of this junk ballers, that's a good thing for him, and see how he fares against that. Because the worry with him, right, is he going to strike out too much to be able to unlock that power at the major league level? Which is a legit concern, and even for myself as a fan of the guy, like, that is a legit concern I have about him being at the major league level. And if the Mariners trade him and they get a really good piece for him, I'll say, yeah, I understand why, right? Moving on, let's talk about Felning. Just as of late, he went 448 feet for his 10th home run of the season today, and it's a third straight game with a home run for him. Just unlocking power now here in June. Just, the kid's a stud. He hits the crap out of the ball. He's athletic AF. He looks good at shortstop, right? And he's just a young kid still, right? And he's in high A, torching the baseballs. Finally been healthy for the most part here this first half of the season. And if he can continue to do that and then go and hit in AA, like, we're looking at early 2028 as an ETA for this guy, which is really exciting. Other guy I want to talk about briefly is a guy I haven't really talked about at all. It's Corbin Dickerson. He had a home run, a double, and a single tonight to add on to what has already been a really good season. An 847 OPS for him. That was his 8th home run and his 10th double of the year down in the California League with Inland Empire. His numbers 286, 406, 441 on the year. That said, he's running a 31% strikeout rate, which when he was drafted last year was the concern, right? We knew he had power. We knew he was able to hit the ball, but does he have the hit tool itself? Or is he going to be a guy like Laz that's going to whiff and strike out a lot? He lowers that strikeout rate, you might have something here. But this is also a guy that if he puts up good numbers here consistently for the next couple of weeks, he's going to be in trade talks. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded. Moving on.
It is time for Seattle Sports Wraparound with Mahal.
All right, this week for the Seattle Sports Wraparound, let's talk about the World Cup. Last Friday, the United States and Australia played in a group stage game, pretty much for first place in Group D, I believe, actually, of the World Cup. My mistake there. And what an atmosphere. What an atmosphere. I was posted up on Occidental for about 3.5 hours prior to kickoff, and just the scenes were something I have never experienced. It was incredible. You know, soccer, football has a way of uniting people that is so unique, and it's something that makes it so beautiful, right? we all don't know each other, but a soccer ball shows up, we can kick it with each other. We can juggle it in a circle, right? We can keep it up off the ground with each other, and we can enjoy a game together. We enjoy a match together, and we will all scream, hug, high five, chant USA, USA, USA when they score a goal. And from the scenes of the March pregame to the Men in Blazers, college game day style setup at 8:30 in the morning that day, to the scenes during the Fox set and that sort of college game day-esque experience, to Pacific Place, to Seattle Center, to down at the pier where I was at for most of the actual game. It's special. And if you are in town when the United States hopefully play a round of 16 game in Seattle, go to one of those places I just mentioned, Seattle Center, the pier, the game itself, Occidental, a bar down there, or Pacific Place, and just experience that. Even if you're not a soccer fan, because that is what makes you a soccer fan. You don't have to understand the game at all. It's pretty simple at face value. Kick the ball around, let it go into the net, and it is chills when the United States score. And they hopefully will win that and make the quarterfinals. Hopefully we get this team to win the third round of 32, round of 16, get them back in Seattle in 16, win that game, and get into the quarters. And, you never know what happens. But Seattle really has showed out. Seattle Stadium, aka Lumen Field, has looked fantastic. The Australians, taking over T-Mobile Park a little bit here and there, looked really cool. And, if you haven't been embracing the World Cup, I really highly recommend it. It is a special event that is just so unique and so special. And get yourself down into Pioneer Square on a game day, on a match day, and experience it. There's another one here on Wednesday, and then on Friday night, of course. Enjoy it, embrace it. Get yourself down to the pier, Pacific Place, Seattle Center, or down at the stadium on a match day, and enjoy it. Now that's going to do it all for this episode of the Light the W podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get a series win. How about it? Go M's. Peace.